Quarantine, am I right? It's tough. I know, I know. We're in this together. Well, I guess on the bright side, we're finding out so much about each other. How well we bake bread, what our favorite songs are, how some of us can string words together and construct something completely different out of it.
Despacito. 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 Despacito.
One thing I'm glad is I was able to dodge the push-up challenge. Coffee out in the yard. At first I had a hard time. I will say this. I had to cancel all of my spring engagements, my client work, my workshops. But one thing I am getting out of this is it's been pushing me creatively. I have this need to keep taking pictures of stuff, be it landscapes or time lapses or portrait work, and to continue scratching that itch while I'm kind of confined to this house. I had to find new things around here that I could use to take pictures of. I will say this, thank you so much for all of those folks who've submitted images for the community edits. It was pretty nice to kind of get back in the flow of my workshops. My gosh. Got some trash I gotta go throw away. So, like I said, when we first started, I had a hard time with all of this. Having an immunodeficient body like I do, it really does suck. I was afraid to go outside. I wasn't sure who was going to be a carrier. But also having to scratch that photographic itch, I decided I'd go ahead and take selfies. Sad ones, but lit up the way I normally would light up a portrait. I mean, now I have the time. So I took the selfies, just me, that one light, a chair. I wanted to convey that sense of isolation that I felt. But after I was done and I was putting away my gear, I realized I actually felt a lot better. So from that point forward, I figured, hey, you know what? I want to try to discover new ways of photographing around my house. So I want to go over some of my successes and failures over the past few weeks, and hopefully I can share some of these ideas with you guys. Gotta cover that. So let's start with my garage. We're in it now. If you've seen many of my portraits from One Bone, I've shot in this space before. That door behind me, very pedestrian in look. It actually makes for a pretty decent backdrop. It's pretty simple looking, and it's also pretty easy to clean up in Photoshop. Oh, if garage doors could talk, it would probably say that it's dark in here. I have a lot of junk, and it smells. I sat here, I used that ring light that I'm still really not sure about, because it does that weird thing with your eyes. But, push it off to the side a little bit, and it looks pretty decent. You've seen me play with a bunch of different lights in this space. I remember bringing out my light and attaching a large softbox to it. I also brought out a really small, kind of adorable grid and shot with it close. And then I pushed it back a few feet, so then that way it had a larger spill, but still dramatic. And I even took those light modifiers off and I shot with it bare bulb. Oh my god, it's so hot. Over at the counters in my kitchen where I normally set up my laptop when I work from home, I use the wall where my stools normally sit. I'm such a fan of walnut, and I wanted to leverage that wall as a background. Unfortunately, for all those shots, I had to be really low to the ground. And as soon as it got dark, I was able to leverage my under-counter lights. My particular lights could change color as well. So I just lay there and I changed the colors and got a few different looks. Oh, I mentioned earlier that I did community edits. Well, I also did it in my sunroom where I set up underneath a light that I got from Walmart. It cost me 20 bucks, no joke. And as a matter of fact, I used that Walmart light to light up my thumbnails for that set of images that I did for the community edits. It's actually now my favorite lamp. Speaking of lights that I can get from department stores, this light here, right here, Home Depot or Sears, I think. It was like 16 bucks. I've actually used this light to illuminate a road a couple hours away from here. That photo actually ended up being used across the nation at different Best Buys and camera stores, all from a light that you could easily get, and many of you probably even have at home. It also makes for a pretty cool lightsaber. So those were the shots that I enjoyed, but not all of them can be winners. There was that time that I held decorative flowers, and I won't be making that mistake again. I also had this yearning for the landscape that I usually find myself in around this time of year. Well, I decided I would try to incorporate some of those shots. I had this idea where I would take some of these shots and project it on myself. Not really sure how I feel about those quite yet. Another one that I know I didn't like was trying to get images I took to reflect off of glasses that I would wear. No. And I even tried some stuff with a drone. Yeah. Wow. I certainly have taken a lot of photos and a lot of vertical video over the past few weeks. That's interesting, coming from a guy who started an article saying, "I hate selfies." So, to my original 10 followers, thanks so much for sticking around. For everyone else, thank you. We're in this together. I mean, not in here. There's only space for me, and barely that. Got soap in my eye. Oh. Well, I mean, we're in this like together, virtually. Not. Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. Let's. There we go. Of course, I decided to do this on like the hottest day. I miss rainy, cold days. This is officially the first time I'm using my leg as a mouse surface. Holy moly.